Welcome to Allie's Attic, where you never know what kind of surprise you'll find in my attic. I'm your host, Allie, and today my surprise is a member of a two-piece, mainly studio-based outfit from South Wales. Please say hello to Lee. Am I going to say Lee Pugh? How do you say your last name, Lee?
Q, yeah,
Pugh.
Q.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I said it right. You are from the Puss Puss band. And welcome to my show. I'm so happy that you're on. We talk to each other on Twitter constantly, but hello.
Hi. Hi, yes, lovely to talk. It's lovely to actually get a chance to speak for real.
Yeah, no kidding. Now, okay, it also, I'm going to say his name wrong, but I'm going to try. There's you and also Asa Galeoso. Galeossi.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I did it! The
No one
second
ever
time.
gets it right. It's fine. No one ever. He's so used to it.
Oh, I guess, right? Oh, that's a crazy name.
Yeah.
Um, so the Puss Puss band I absolutely love. You guys are,
Thank you.
like I said, in South Wales. Um, you've worked all over with numerous artists and bands in the UK and the Welsh music industry over the last 10 years, as writers, session musicians, while also developing your sound.
Yeah.
Now, tell me your story, Lee. Like, whatever you want to tell me.
Okay. We should start. We start at the start. Well, I wasn't sort of one of these people that was lucky enough to be born. I think maybe talented and musical right from the off. I grew up in quite a musical household. My sister was a singer, still is. Um, so I was always sort of surrounded by bands, but never really had an interest to do that myself. So I don't think I actually picked an instrument up until I was about 16. I think I was about 16 or 17, and started just as everyone else does. Probably took me a fair few years of teaching myself really before I'd sort of consider myself to be a musician or to have done anything really creative. I was lucky enough. I think after about 4 years, I'd been in my early 20s, maybe. I think going back quite a way. Was lucky enough to get on to there was a scheme for young musicians that basically freed up funding for studio time and a chance for people to sort of just have a go of sort of seeing what was in the industry and whether it was for them.
Uh-huh.
And I never really sort of I didn't a lot of the bands that were doing it were very they took the opportunity I think more for the networking and the I suppose the actual physical live scene of it. Whereas the thing that I was probably most drawn to was the fact that it allowed me sort of a chance to go to a fairly nice studio and work with someone and basically just to really focus on that side of things on songwriting and the studio process really. So I did that. I managed to get about a year and a half out of that. I should have only been there for a year, and I think they kind of forgot about me. I was so quiet; they just kept paying my studio bill and leaving me to work quietly in the studio, which was absolutely brilliant. And it was just, it was such a valuable thing to get, like 18 months, I think it was, with a really good studio engineer, and to be able to sit there and ask questions, and then to gradually start, working the actual desk myself, and starting to take control of that side of music, which I think is such a massively important thing for musicians these days. I think you have to have a certain amount of self sufficiency
Yeah.
to survive and to be really quite resourceful with
Mm.
what you do have, um, which is very much what we've focus on. I think 50% of our game really is about the self sufficiency and the self production and all of that. So I didn't. I think I must have been probably in my mid 20s. I think when I met Asa, we both enrolled for a sound engineering course, and we just got chatting one lunchtime, and we've literally worked with each other ever since. So you're talking, it's probably about 13 or 14 years. We know it's probably coming on for nearly 15 years to give away my age here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a really, really long time.
Wow.
Um,
That is
and it
cool.
does, yeah, and as I think what you read off that list, I suppose that kind of encompasses what we've kind of been doing for the last 10, 12 years, really. Just going from bands to bands. We've always ended up playing together on the same project, so it kind of made sense, really, that at some point, after all those sort of late drunken nights after gigs, when you sort of muse over what you'd like to do next, or we'd sort of gradually come up with the idea on the quiet of doing a purely studio, because we were always just a live band. We never really focused that much during those years on recording too much. It was more part of the usual process where you need to go into record every couple of months or every 6 months or every year to put down what you're writing, and then you go out and you carry on just going out live. But we'd done that for so many years with the focus was really on live and not recording, that we were kind of, I don't know, I think we were just ready to sort of lock ourselves away and try something different. And that's how this band came about, really. It was a long time coming. It wasn't something that happened overnight. It was, and the same with the album, really. The album is basically, it's a song journal, really, that we both put together over about 8 to 10 years of our lives. And it's kind of autobiographical, I suppose. It's a very sort of honest attempt at sort of, quite deep songs that we didn't get a chance to maybe scratch that itch with when we were smashing drum kits and playing really loud rock band things for years. It was a mature period then, I think, really. So we've kind of hit our mature period. Maybe that's what it is.
Okay, well, I'm glad you did.
And that took us up till about sort of autumn last year. And we'd finally started getting in, I think, into the studio about autumn last year. And then really starting to put this album together. We put a few songs out. We've only really been out and putting things out for about a year, and I think it was a year in October, sort of publicly,
wow.
and sort of with Twitter and everything else. And then the album came out in, I think it was March, April, I think it was, with a little interesting twist about how we acquired our keyboard player in between, which is just a really crazy story all in itself.
Yeah, well, it's a pretty crazy keyboard player.
Yeah. It's just a really, really bizarre story. It's one of those things where you get the opposite of, or you kind of get what you want in the long term if you just don't be too hard about going to get it. I think that's the lesson in there somewhere. So yeah, that took us through to about April. And then ever since then, really, we are working on the second album. We started about 2 months ago, and that's going quite well. And we're hoping to put it out at the same time, probably next year. So hopefully by March we'll have it ready. But there's a few sort of things that we're sort of pulling together from different places all at once, and just trying to sort of get the ball rolling with it. We've started now. We're about halfway through, I think, the second album, I would say, with regards to the writing, and probably about 2/3 of the way through with the recording. So we'll kind of hit that point. You typically hit a point where everything speeds up.
Yeah.
And I think hopefully we'll do that just before Christmas, or maybe we'll hold off and do it the week after Christmas or something, or New Year, and then hopefully it will snowball from there. So that's pretty much, I mean, if the period over that, I sort of skimmed over the 10 years very quickly. Basically, we, not sort of ashamed of our past at all, of course not. We worked quite a lot around the Welsh music scene, the Welsh language scene in particular. We were signed to a label called Docrad with a band called Gillespie that were basically an all-girl group when they started. It's sort of I don't know really how you describe it, classical instruments playing poppy, jazzy sort of music, in a live sort of gig setting. And we were brought in to Acer originally because they needed a drummer, and then me because they didn't really have any sort of standard rock. They had a bass player, but they didn't really have any standard sort of rock instrumentation in the rhythm section. So I came in to play rhythm and lead guitar, just to sort of make it a bit more rocky, I suppose, then, really. And we did that for, I think that was about a year and a half or 2 years, and we kind of decided that we just had enough, really, of that. I don't know if it was a good thing to do. We did really quite well. It's quite a small industry, the Welsh language industry, but it's very well supported and very well run, I suppose. So we did that for about a year and a half to 2 years, and then we decided we were just going to step away from it. So we actually left Gillespie, just to go on to work with other things, and we basically spent a few years then working in a three-piece. We went to basically become a three-piece sort of trash punk band essentially for about a year and a half, 2 years, maybe 2.5 years, and that was really, really good. And we did that to the point where we kind of burnt ourselves out, and then we took a couple of years off. Sort of grew up a little bit, maybe, did a few, focused on more grown up things. Asa went off and had his first child a few years back, so he's, we sort of took it slow, really. There's been no rush to go straight back out and play live, really, with all those sort of grown up things happening and in between. But that's all sort of started to sort of stabilise off a bit now, luckily enough, about a year on from the first album. So we're kind of toying with the idea of maybe going out a bit more next year
cool.
with the album. So hopefully we won't be sort of sad old men stuck in a bedroom studio recording forever. We will actually go out and play for people. It's something I'm kind of really looking forward to.
Yeah, that would be cool.
And that pretty much, I mean, there's been loads of little projects in between that we've done over that period, but that's kind of pretty much where we've come from. I won't talk too much about Acer. I'll just leave I think we just leave him as a mystery, seeing as he didn't show up tonight.
Yeah,
Then
yes, we'll leave him as a
basically, I
mystery.
found him a few years ago, and we've been together ever since. I think that's all we should say for this.
Well, that's cool. Well, I like that you're influenced by songwriting geniuses like Brian Wilson, um, Burt Bacharach, David Bowie, Neil Young, Bill Nelson. I love that there's some Canadians in there, just saying. And it's kind of like simple pop rock songs, but you also have like acoustic indie pop rock with hints of classic refined and warmer elements of jazz, folk, and blues, and you don't pigeonhole yourself. You're not just one
No,
genre.
we we spent a lot of time being in situations and bands where just by the nature of them, as soon as you find yourself in a genre, for good or for bad, in some ways it can be a good thing because it helps you hone and refine what it is you actually do.
Hmm.
Um, but it's also very restrictive, and it can become very restrictive very quickly if you are only going to play within one genre. Um, and I think that's kind of why we've steered away from it, because we have the luxury of sort of, I don't know, it's only two of us and we're playing all the instruments in a studio setting for the
Hmm.
best part. So kind of why you be limited to one genre or just a set amount of standard instruments? We just thought if we were going to do it, we would sort of be grandiose about it, really, or a little, or maybe at least show a bit of ambition with regards to stretching ourselves with what was possibly doable by two monkeys in a bedroom.
Well, you guys do it very well, and I love that you're not just one genre. I think it's very cool to have a variety of different music on one EP. Just because nowadays, when you turn on the radio or you're, watching music awards, whatever, they all sound the same. Like it's weird. It's like, you know what, give me variety, which is why I love doing what I do because I get to, find all this cool variety of indie music, which is
Well, yeah,
amazing.
that's the hidden treasure trove of indie music, isn't it? I think.
Exactly. Yeah. Now let's talk about John Rabbit Bundrick. He was with The Who, Free, Roger Waters, Bob Marley, and on Echoes Across the Cruel Sea. He does a guest appearance throughout on the piano, Hammond organ, and synths.
Yeah, he's that's a really we couldn't really list everything that Rabbit has done because it would take 40 minutes to probably read it all out. Um, he's just had the most amazing career and amazing life, and there's so many records. He was the principal musician as well on the Rocky Horror Picture Show soundtrack. He's the guy who played the piano through all of that soundtrack.
That's
He was Bob
awesome.
Marley's roommate in Sweden. Worked with Mick Jagger, I think. He's worked with literally everybody. I mean, just Roger Waters, just everybody, anybody who's anybody.
Could you? Oh,
So
there's
just the
stories.
fact that he wants to work with us is just a
Is
bit
amazing.
bizarre, really.
Yeah. I would just love to sit and talk to him for like hours because I mean the stories that he would have would be just unbelievable. I'm sure you
we,
guys
we've
have,
we've
yeah.
heard a few already. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
sure we've got permission to share them.
No, don't. Don't. I mean privately talk to him.
We'll have to we'll have to set you up via Skype.
There
You
we
can
go. Yeah.
scratch that itch in private. Yeah, that'd be
Exactly.
probably
Yeah, that
better.
would be
Yeah,
so
yeah.
awesome. That would be so awesome. Now, you're currently promoting the new album, obviously, and you've also performed live sets and a live acoustic set for the BBC.
Yeah, well, like we said about the sort of reluctance to go back out and gig, radio live show gigging really is just it's fabulous. You can just show up with two acoustic guitars, and they normally take place during the daytime, not at 12 at night. And it's kind of a lazy man's tour for us. It's been nice to be able to go out and actually play. Um, just to play live on air, really, and obviously you can only go out and do acoustic shows then,
Hmm.
and two instruments at a time, because we're not in a position to drag Rabbit around the country to every radio station, unfortunately, at the moment. We're working on him slowly. So yeah, it's but the one with the BBC was, obviously we were really really chuffed with that. It's that particular show is it's kind of the Sunday morning prime time show on the BBC in Wales. So it was lovely to get to play sort of sets like that. If we could play more sets like that, we'd be very very happy. It's a dream for us, obviously, because it's such an easy thing to do. It's such a really great way to connect with listeners and new people.
Hmm.
Um, Especially such a big show,
Yeah.
So yeah. So we're really just trying to focus on live radio stuff at the moment. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Okay, so because you've been doing this for a while and you've been working with Asa forever, if you had any kind of advice to give a new artist, Lee, like especially in this industry now, what kind of advice do you think you'd give them?
Oh, um, there's so many things that I would I would love to pass on to myself years ago. I think most musicians would say the same thing, and I mean that's the only way you learn, isn't it? I think with regards to maybe a lot of if you're going to be successful, I think as an indie musician these days, it's all really about Twitter, isn't it? It tends to be quite a lot about Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of the other things that kind of come with that. There's a massive market in making money off indie musicians selling really really crap promo that isn't really promo or PR.
Mm-hmm.
I think most of the money that's being generated within the indie scene at the moment, I wouldn't be surprised if 99% of that money is being made by these people, not by the musicians themselves.
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking sort of $50 to appear in a magazine or to have a write up done, when the people that are selling you that also own the magazine that they're writing it for, I think it's some sort of there's a lot of illusory exclusivity perhaps that's attached to a lot of these things, and they're sold, to people in good faith, to musicians in good faith, and you can quite easily spend an awful lot of money thinking you're going to promote yourself via these things and not really see anything back from it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think one of the big things I would say to people that are starting out, and I do see quite a few online every week. Really, we get obviously your inbox. When you're in a band, your inbox will be full of these things, and they can be really difficult. I was talking to Al. Yeah, it was Al Yardi. I was talking to Al on KB Radio a few weeks back, and he was saying about the same thing. It was a bit more current then, but about like the Annie Lennox thing when Annie Lennox received. Did you see that?
No,
Did you receive
I saw
she received an
something.
email
Yeah.
from one of these PR companies that offer young bands that it's basically it's a carbon copy letter that says your music's great and we'd love to, we think you've got potential,
Mm-hmm.
and they sent that to Annie Lennox. So
Well, I bet
yeah,
okay, I'm not going to say
young
idiots.
musicians get that all of the time. So I would say just be very careful. Focus on probably what it is that you remember the reason that why you make music and why you want to be a musician. I think, and always try and keep that at the forefront of your mind. There's loads of other things that are probably going to stretch you, especially if you're going to be independent,
Mm-hmm.
because you'll have to be everything to
Yeah.
to every situation. But if you can keep that, I would say, at the forefront of your mind, maybe. Um, and don't spend too much time on Twitter talking to Gongo. That would be my advice. I
It's
think
hard not to talk to Gongle. Oh,
I can tell by your laugh that you agree with me as
he
well.
is so hilarious. Like oh my God. I can on Thursday nights, just so everybody knows, all of the people that I talk to in the UK, a majority of us get together on Thursdays and it's kind of like a Twitter fest. And
Please don't say the name.
if
No,
you
it's not. It's fine. That's fine. I think it's another day they call it something. They
I
call it
don't know.
that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna tell. Yeah, no. But anyways, it's hilarious. You guys are all hilarious. I love your humor. And Gongle, we're talking about the voice box, by the way. Gongle is just amazing and absolutely in love with him. But yeah, it gets a little crazy. And sometimes I just have to turn my notifications off. I'm glad you touched on the people offering all this free promo. I get it. I got one the other day talking about how good my songs are.
Yeah, yeah.
So I messaged them back.
I think if you're on Twitter and you fall under the vaguest category of something to do with music, then I
Yeah.
think you just receive them, don't you? I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it cracked me up. I messaged him back and I said, you know what? I really love to hear where you heard my music because I don't sing and I can't play an instrument.
You're not hiding.
But-
You hiding a secret album, Ali.
Yeah, and that's what it is. No, God, no. But yeah, I'm glad you touched on that because it's scary when you're first starting out and you think, oh my God, they're going to help me. And then no, they don't. I mean, they're just trying to get your money. So I'm really glad you touched on that. And just, yeah, my advice too, along with that, is be careful for the love of God. I can't believe they sent one to Annie Lennox. That cracked me up. Anyway, okay, so what two songs by the Puss Puss Band are we going to hear today, Luke? Lee?
Hopefully, if I've sent them over and it was the right ones, it'll be Alone and Bucko's Lullaby.
Yes, I have both of them. And yes, you did send them over correctly. So I will be putting those up on my website. Now, everybody can find you on Twitter as the Puss Puss Band. And also Bandcamp, the pusspussband.bandcamp.com. I'm going to throw that up on my website just so people can click on it and go straight to your music and take a listen. And they're going to fall in love with it just like I did. And
Oh, thank you.
yeah, and I mean, any new news comes up, anything happens that's huge, or Asa wants to come on, just let me.
Yeah, I think we should rebook and just make him do it again. I think just out of principle. I think I promised. I
Exactly.
felt bad. I promised you as well that you'd be here as well. And he didn't show up that night.
That's okay. I'm okay. I'm not. My feelings aren't hurt. But yeah, you should just tell him. You know what? It didn't work, and you're gonna have to do it yourself. He's gonna hear this and know, anyways. But
I am.
anyway,
I'm going to phone him. I'm going to phone him as soon as I get off the phone to you. I'm going to tell him that.
it didn't work. You're gonna have to go on. Anyways, thank you, Lee, and I know we're gonna be talking forever just because of Twitter, and I love the fact that we all kind of started talking, and you guys crack me up.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, it's lovely.
But
Thank
you're
you.
also very talented, and yeah, anything new, your new album, when you're ready to release that, you can come back on, or anything.
Yeah, we're a little way off, but we'll keep you. Well, we'll speak to you. Obviously, we'll speak to you. We'll speak to you weekly. In
Exactly.
the meantime,
Yeah.
we'll give you weekly updates. But yeah,
Exactly.
hopefully, New Year. We'll put a new single out first, probably before the album. So that'll probably be the next thing. So we'll get into New Year, and then we'll start shamelessly hawking a single around by about January, February,
Yes,
hopefully.
send it to me because I'll put it up on my Alley's odds and ends,
Oh,
and
you'll
I'll
be top
help
of our
you.
list. We'll
Yeah.
send it straight out to you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Lee, for coming on, and I appreciate you. And like I said, all the best to you, both of you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And thank you for joining me on Alley's Attic. Keep checking my website because you never know what kind of surprise you'll find in my attic. Cheers.